Alright, welcome back everybody to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, the most delectable Chupacabra man. We're back for some more Killing Floor 2 custom maps here today. We're looking at the KF Koholint V06, which is essentially the Link's Awakening, the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening map, made by Girl Dracula, and I thought we'd check this out here today. This is one of those maps that I was just peeking on the Killing Floor 2 workshop and found. And if you guessed that it was a retro map based upon some of the original Legend of Zelda on the Game Boys, you would be correct. And it's kind of neat. Like, I always kind of like looking at old retro 8-bit art done up in a newer 3D engine with all the frills, thrills, and fancy features that you don't normally get in those old engines. Like, well, 3D was definitely not always a thing, although Link's Awakening might be one of the newer titles for The Legend of Zelda. One of the ones that came out on the 3DS, possibly. I didn't play that one in particular. I've checked out and played my friend's copy of A Link Between Worlds, which was kind of a neat concept. So I think this is actually pretty well done. The water is animated, the flowers on the ground are animated, which is a very classic Nintendo thing that they do. Make some of the foliage pixels animate like they're blowing in the wind. And all of the different vendor locations on this map, all the different trader pods, are actually just hidden inside of the various buildings that you can interact with. Now, I'm not 100% certain as to what part of Link's Awakening this takes place in. It looks like it's out front of one of the important temples, or some other type of important area, or maybe just inside of one of the towns, and then that's the exit over there. And then there's some sort of egg-shaped tower or mountain that you can see off in the distance. Now, one of the downsides to this particular map is that there's really not a lot of cool stuff to do in it. This is probably one of the least interactive spots in a Zelda game that you could pick. There's not really like a platform that you can hop onto to try and avoid a bunch of Zeds. But it definitely looks authentic, and it looks like it was modeled based off of the original and holds true to form. Although I kind of want to go back and play Link's Awakening now, just to see what the flippity-floopin' deal is. Because it looks nifty, I'll put it that way. Can you shoot this heart? Does this do anything? No. Sometimes different developers for maps will go out and add, like, cool features to the map. Although I do know for a fact, having looked at Dracula Girl's notes on making this particular map, that you do get a few graphical glitches like this here, where the blood falls into the seams between textures of the Unreal Engine. But aside from that, I haven't seen a lot of glitches in this particular map, unless of course whatever that is in the distance is supposed to appear, in which case that might be a little oopsie out in the distance. But overall, I mean, I dig it. It's retro art in a 3D landscape, which you would normally only see if you were playing like a 2.5D shooter, Doom style, that takes place in a newer engine, which you can see a lot of those on different indie marketplaces like itch.io and also Game Jolt, but don't necessarily see a lot of AAA publishers really putting a lot of that back in the games. Unless we're talking about the Wolfenstein, The New Order, where they actually put the old Wolfenstein and hid it inside of the new one as a part of a dream sequence that you could do inside of your secret evil base. Although now that I think about it, there is one thing we might try, but we can't just use the firebug abilities to do it. That is a breakable wall over there, or at least it has the texture of a breakable wall. Which would, to me, would imply that we might be able to fondle this in some respect. Can I clip through this at all?
Last chance. I have to power down the pod.
I don't think we can break that. I think the chances that anything in this particular map are interactable are fairly slim. But that said, I mean, I've been enjoying this so far. There's lots of spots in this map where you can hide out and you can defend yourself. You can get up onto one of these ramps, and there's only 1 or 2 spots that critters can come and try to touch you. And also, some of them can appear out of these murder holes and crawl up and try to touch your booty.
Now finish the job. Allez.
So that might qualify as a little bit on the rude side from these Zeds. But it's good that the developer found a lot of different spots to hide spawn points. Like, I know that one of the spawn points is actually over here, behind the waterfall. So stuff will actually come roaming out from inside of here. And actually, we can pretty much walk in the water without a lot of problem. Thankfully, nothing really puts out fires in this game, so I don't really have to worry about shooting into the water either. So yeah, let me know if any of you guys in the comments have played the pants off of Link's Awakening before. Because that would be super cool if you could tell me, like, what area I am currently in and what you do here. As well as what that is in the distance, and also the final piece is what that is supposed to be, that dark minaret tower that you can see over there. Because I think that's supposed to appear, but maybe that's bugged out for the moment. And I'd love to know what that is supposed to be. Because The Legend of Zelda has a lot of recurrent themes between the games. I mean, obviously you've got Link, and you've got Princess Zelda, and you've got Ganon. Because the entire idea is that Link, Zelda, and the Chaos Demon of Ganon have been locked in eternal conflict since the beginning of time, which is all explained inside of the game Skyward Sword. And after they defeated the Demon of Chaos, he bound them all into an endless repeating cycle where they have to fight one another endlessly through time until the sun explodes. And I find if you're a malevolent, evil creature that wants to take over the world, giving yourself lots of chances to do it is probably the way to go. I mean, I am a Chupacabra. I am technically a little bit evil. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Although, I mean, sun exploding, maybe just until time itself unravels. Because the suns explode all the time. I don't know that that counts. Although I think my final piece of advice or my thought for Dracula Girl, or Girl Dracula, is it might be interesting if you can expand upon your knowledge of how to code in Unreal to make it so that when you finally do get to the point where you go to the trader pod, instead of just going up to the shop where the trader is at, maybe you go up to the shop and because it's the shop that you need to go to, a 8-bit pixel art version of one of the characters, one of the NPCs from Link's Awakening can appear to greet you. Because that doesn't require a lot of crazy modeling experience or crazy art experience. All you gotta do is find some of those original art assets and recreate it in, you know, a newer software so that doesn't look all funny and pixelated when you blow the textures up real flippin' big. Because I'm currently playing it at 4K resolution, although I am downsampling it to 1440p just because it's easier for me to edit, unless I really want to, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Otherwise, very nice work. It's true to form. It all looks authentic, like you've turned this entire world into a 3D version of itself, and I like it. There's not a lot to do in it, though. There's not a lot of, like, rooms to go inside of, not a lot of buildings that you can interact with, and not a lot of places that you can go, other than a few ramps, a few high places, some ledges, and walking up to a few spawn points, including that one up there, which I don't think you can actually reach. I mean, it's one of those maps that looks cool, but it doesn't really play as cool, which, I mean, it's not really a big deal. That happens when you're making a themed map based on another game. But for other people who might be interested in creating stuff like this in the future, it's something to keep in mind. So that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. This has been The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening inside of Killing Floor 2. I hope you've enjoyed this little video segment so far. That's it for this particular custom map preview. This is made by Girl Dracula. I will put a link to where you can subscribe to it and download it on the Steam Workshop. And until next time, I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you crazy cats and Zeds and Zed hunters next time. Have a good one, everybody, and
Let's get
toodaloo.
you restocked.